The airport was busy. Too busy for anyone to notice one woman standing completely still, until the cops surrounded her. She was tall. Elegant. Dressed in a simple black blouse and slacks. No jewelry. No loud makeup. Just presence. Calm, unshakable presence. But apparently, that was enough to make her suspicious. It started when the TSA agent waved her over for a random check. "Ma'am, can you step to the side?" She raised an eyebrow. Looked around. No one else was being pulled aside. "Is there a reason?" she asked, her voice calm but clear. The agent didn't answer. Instead, he called over 2 airport police officers, both white, both younger men with hands already twitching near their belts. The woman, her name was Dana, didn't argue. She stepped aside, handed over her boarding pass and ID, and waited. She didn't fidget. She didn't complain. She didn't raise her voice. But that only made them more nervous. One officer leaned in. "You're traveling alone?" "Yes." "No checked bags?" "No." "You're flying first class?" She nodded. He scoffed, then turned to his partner and muttered, "Yeah, right." That's when things shifted. The whisper wasn't quiet enough. Dana heard it. So did the elderly couple behind her. So did the woman in the red scarf checking her phone 2 rows down. But no one said anything. The taller officer stepped in front of Dana and crossed his arms. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us." "For what?" "You've been flagged. It's a Homeland Security matter." "Flagged?" Dana repeated. "Why?" "We'll explain everything at the security office. Let's go." He didn't wait for her to agree. He grabbed her by the arm. That's when gasps erupted from the nearby line. One woman actually stepped forward. "Hey! You can't just—" "Step back, ma'am," the cop snapped. Dana still didn't resist. But she spoke, quietly. "You're making a mistake." And she wasn't wrong. What they didn't know, what they didn't bother to check, was that Dana wasn't just another traveler. She wasn't just another black woman in line. She was a senior advisor for national defense logistics. She had just come from a closed-door meeting with Joint Chiefs at the Pentagon. And she was on her way to a NATO intelligence summit in Brussels. But none of that mattered. Not here. Not now. To these officers, she was just another attitude problem. They pulled her aside, cuffed her right there, on the terminal floor, and walked her past stunned passengers. Phones came out. Some people recorded. Others looked away. "Unbelievable," one man muttered. "This is racism, plain and simple." Still, no one moved to stop it. And Dana? She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just looked at them, cold, measured. "You really don't know who I am, do you?" she said softly. One of the officers chuckled. "Yeah, we've heard that before." But the other one hesitated. Something in her tone wasn't like the others. And that would be the first crack. Not in Dana's resolve, but in theirs. The holding room wasn't large, just 4 beige walls, a metal table, and 2 chairs that screeched when moved. Fluorescent lights buzzed above like flies in a jar. Dana sat with her hands cuffed in front of her. Her back straight. Her eyes unwavering. The younger cop paced the room while the older one filed through a tablet, pretending to search for information that didn't exist. "You're awfully calm for someone under federal investigation," the younger one muttered. Dana didn't respond. That only irritated him more. "You got ID, but your profile's weird," he continued. "No social media, no credit cards under your name, nothing recent on file. What kind of normal person doesn't exist online?" Still, Dana said nothing. The older officer sighed and leaned back. "Look, you fit a profile. No checked bags. One-way international ticket. First class. Solo traveler. That's a flag, lady. Except I'm not on any watch list," Dana finally said. "And you know it. You think you're smarter than us?" the young cop snapped. "No," Dana said calmly. "I think I'm more patient." The door creaked open, and a third officer walked in, Lieutenant Heller. Late 40s, graying mustache, a belly that hung over his belt, and a voice that oozed condescension. "What's this about?" he asked. "She's a potential federal threat," the young cop said. "But she's being smug." "Real smug," added the older one. Lieutenant Heller looked at Dana. Then he looked at the cuffs. Then back at his officers. "She give you trouble?" "No, sir." "She resist?" "No, sir." "She raise her voice?" "No." "Then why is she cuffed?" The question hung there. Neither cop had an answer. Dana didn't break eye contact with Heller. He stepped closer. "Ma'am, I'm gonna ask you this once. Are you carrying anything dangerous, or are you connected to anyone being tracked by Homeland Security?" "No," Dana replied. "Then why are you here? You should ask your officers that." The young cop scoffed. "She's hiding something." "No," Dana replied. "You're just not listening." At that moment, the woman in the red scarf, the one who'd been 2 lines behind Dana, appeared outside the holding room window. She was recording. Again. The video had already hit the internet. And it was spreading. A black woman in cuffs. No resistance. No crime. Just suspicion. Back in the terminal, passengers were whispering. "That woman didn't do anything. They better have a reason for this. Did you see the way they dragged her?" Still, no one intervened. But the tide was shifting. Inside the room, Lieutenant Heller sighed. "You said we should ask your officers. You think this is about race?" Dana looked at him, eyes hard. "I think if I were blonde and carrying a yoga mat, I'd already be on the plane." That struck a nerve. Heller frowned. "We're just doing our job." "No," Dana said. "You're abusing your authority. There's a difference." The younger officer slammed his hand on the table. "I'm sick of this attitude." Dana turned to him, slowly. "And I'm sick of pretending that you're qualified to speak to me." There was silence. Cold. Heavy. Electric. The older officer looked uncomfortable now. The weight of the moment was changing. Dana leaned forward, still cuffed. Her voice low. "You have 10 seconds to uncuff me. After that, I make 1 phone call. Just 1. And then this won't be your problem anymore. It'll be a federal issue." The younger cop laughed. "A phone call? Who you gonna call? Your mom?" But the way she stared at him made him stop laughing. Something was wrong. Something was different. This wasn't just a passenger with an attitude. There was something in her tone. Something too steady. Too military. She didn't sound like someone bluffing. She sounded like someone trained not to bluff. Outside, more phones were up. The woman in the red scarf was now live streaming. Comments rolled in. "This is profiling. That woman is dangerous. Look at her posture, she's the calmest one in the room. I think those cops are about to get humbled hard." Lieutenant Heller didn't like being threatened. Especially not by someone in handcuffs. He crossed his arms. "You're not in a position to make demands, Ms. Marshall," she replied. "Dana Marshall." The name didn't ring any bells. At least not for him. The younger officer leaned into Heller's ear. "Should we call TSA command? Have her detained officially?" Heller nodded. "Do it. Let's escalate." The younger cop stepped outside the room. The cuffs stayed on. Dana exhaled, calm but firm. She glanced at the silver case they tossed near the corner when they searched her purse. A government-locked aluminum briefcase. Still unopened. Still ignored. She looked up at the older cop who hadn't said much. The one who'd started to fidget earlier. His name tag read. "Brody. You know this isn't right," she said. He didn't answer. But he didn't look away either. Outside the room, a small crowd had formed near the windows. The woman in the red scarf was still filming. A teenage boy was watching the live stream on his phone, real time. And on the live stream chat, the internet was starting to connect the dots. "Dana Marshall? Isn't she on that Pentagon Logistics Council? Wait, I think I saw her on CSBN last year. Yo. This ain't gonna end well for those cops. Inside, Lieutenant Heller stepped closer. His tone turned cold. You're refusing to comply with national security protocol. That's obstruction. Dana didn't blink. There is no protocol here. Just your bias and your bruised ego. Watch it, he warned. But she leaned back in the chair, completely unfazed. Or what? You'll throw me in airport jail? Go ahead. The people I report to built the system you're trying to abuse. That got his attention. You're bluffing. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Because just then, the younger officer returned. TSA command said they don't have any record of her on a list. No alerts. Nothing. Heller frowned. Run her name again. We did. It's clean. Dana tilted her head. Told you. But he didn't back down. He stepped behind her, pulled the radio from his belt, and spoke directly into it. Control, this is Lieutenant Heller. I'm initiating temporary detainment for Subject 1284. Suspicious behavior. Possible false identity. Need Air Marshal confirmation. Dana laughed. Just once. Dry. Controlled. You really think you can twist this into an identity case? He glared at her. Ma'am, sit still and don't speak another word until we figure out who you really are. That was it. She was done. Without warning, Dana leaned forward, planted her cuffed hands flat on the table, and said calmly, Then I'll call someone who can help you understand. Before they could react, she used both wrists, still cuffed, to slide open the latch on the briefcase. Click. The room froze. Inside was not a weapon. Not a phone. Not a wallet. But an encrypted defense clearance badge. And a direct Pentagon communications device. The screen glowed blue. She pressed one button. A single number dialed. The call rang once. Twice. Then, Pentagon command. Identify. Dana leaned into the speaker. This is Marshall. Code Alpha 7 Delta. Currently detained without cause at Gate 34, West Terminal. I need an immediate contact initiated to General Knox or Director Ellison. Mark this urgent breach of protocol. Silence. Then, copy that, Alpha 7 Delta. Confirming escalation. Local authorities will be informed within 60 seconds. Hold position. Dana sat back. Her cuffs still on. But the room had changed. The younger officer's mouth dropped open. The older one, Brody, actually stepped back. Heller? He went pale. He reached for the radio again, but his hands were shaking now. What the hell just happened? He whispered. Dana looked at him. Looked through him. You just messed with the wrong woman. And the wrong agency. Outside the glass, the crowd grew. People were now whispering her name. Dana Marshall. It was trending. And the Pentagon? They were already on the move. Lieutenant Heller's hand hovered near his holster, not because Dana was a threat, but because he realized, too late, that he was the one in danger. Not physically. Professionally. His career, his rank, his reputation, were all now dangling by a thread held in Dana Marshall's cuffed hands. The radio on his chest crackled. Lieutenant Heller, come in. This is command. He hesitated. The younger officer turned pale. Sir? Heller pressed the button. Go ahead. We've been contacted directly by the Pentagon. You're to immediately release the woman in custody. Now. She holds TS/SCI clearance. Level 1. Why wasn't this verified before detainment? Heller swallowed. His throat clicked. Dana turned her head slowly. They don't like being kept waiting. Especially when it's national security you're delaying. The command continued, tone growing icy. She was en route to a classified briefing with NATO intelligence. Your actions have compromised a federal travel route. You will prepare a written report. Immediately. And stay where you are. That last part hit like a hammer. He wasn't being asked. He was being ordered. From above. From high above. Dana raised her cuffed hands. You can take these off now. Officer Brody stepped forward before Heller could move. His fingers shook as he unlocked the cuffs. Click. They dropped to the table. Dana rubbed her wrists, stood up slowly, and adjusted her blouse like nothing had happened. Outside, the woman in the red scarf gasped aloud. She's someone big. Someone murmured. Like really big. The live stream was exploding. Yo, she called the Pentagon like it was customer service. What? She just casually name-dropped General Knox. I'm shook. Those cops about to be unemployed by sunset. Back in the room, the younger officer took a step back and stammered. We didn't know. Dana cut him off. You didn't ask. You assumed. You profiled. And you detained me without cause. Then she turned to Heller. You dragged me across a terminal in front of hundreds of people. You embarrassed me. You insulted my intelligence. You jeopardized a federal operation because you saw a black woman in first class and couldn't imagine she earned it. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. She didn't wait. She picked up her case, turned toward the door, then stopped. Actually, she said, turning halfway back, there's one more call I need to make. She pulled out her phone this time. Not the secure device. Just her own. She tapped once. The screen showed a FaceTime logo. It rang. And then, Director Ellison speaking. The face of a serious, gray-haired black woman appeared. Behind her, rows of monitors and a flag wall. Dana didn't waste time. Ma'am, I've been detained. Wrongfully. At West Terminal. Lieutenant Heller. Officers Brody and Kendall. No warrant. No probable cause. Race-based profiling. Civil rights violation. Compromised mission window. It's all on video. Ellison didn't blink. She didn't ask for clarification. She simply said, Understood. Stay where you are. We're already pulling security footage. Legal and I will be there within the hour. She glanced past the screen. And Ms. Marshall? Thank you. Again. Dana smiled slightly. Just doing my job, Director. The call ended. Silence filled the room again. But it wasn't Dana who was quiet now. It was them. The power dynamic had flipped. The woman they handcuffed in arrogance was now the one holding all the cards. 30 minutes later, the airport was no longer just an airport. It was a scene. 3 black SUVs pulled onto the tarmac behind Terminal B, lights low, no sirens. Homeland Security officers stepped out first, dark suits, silent expressions. Behind them came 2 military police in dress uniform. They weren't here to escort Dana. They were here to deal with him. Lieutenant Heller tried to put on a brave face. But sweat betrayed him. His shirt clung to his back. His jaw clenched like a man waiting for a verdict. Officer Kendall, the younger one, had stopped speaking entirely. Brody had already taken off his badge and placed it on the table. No one told him to. He just knew. The Homeland agent, a sharp-eyed woman with a clipboard and an earpiece, walked in and didn't even glance at the cops. She went straight to Dana. Ms. Marshall, your flight has been rescheduled. A private transport is on standby. General Knox sends his apologies and full authorization to proceed. Dana nodded. Thank you. The agent hesitated, then added, Also, social media's already on fire. The footage is everywhere. CNN's running the clip. Congressional staffers are calling. It's big. Dana didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply said, Good. Let it be. Meanwhile, out in the terminal, the crowd was buzzing. The woman in the red scarf had just ended her live stream after nearly 1 million views. People were replaying the moment Dana pulled out the Pentagon badge like it was a movie scene. She shut them down in 2 sentences. That woman was ice cold. Legend. They thought she was nobody. Now the world knows her name. Back in the holding room, the Homeland agent turned to the officers. All three of you are hereby placed on temporary administrative suspension pending formal investigation. Your body cam footage, radio logs, and personnel files have already been pulled. You are not to leave the county until notified otherwise." Heller didn't speak. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 20 minutes. The agent continued. "You'll be contacted by Internal Affairs and the Office of Civil Rights. Based on preliminary review, you may be facing federal misconduct charges under the Civil Liberties Act." Kendall muttered. "But we didn't know." The agent turned sharply. "You didn't ask." Brody spoke finally. Quietly. "She told us. We ignored her." Dana didn't say anything. Not yet. She waited until her escort began to guide her toward the exit. Then she stopped at the doorway, turned to face them one last time, and said simply, "You thought I didn't belong here. But the truth is, this place was never yours to gatekeep." She let the words hang, then walked out. Head high. Steps firm. No cuffs. No fear. Just silence behind her. As she boarded the waiting SUV, the driver opened the door with respect, not routine. "Ma'am." Dana nodded. She climbed in, closed the door, and the vehicle rolled off. Back inside the terminal, passengers were still whispering. Some applauded. Others shook their heads, stunned at how quickly power had changed hands. One little girl, holding her mother's hand, asked, "Mommy, who was that lady?" The mother didn't hesitate. "She's the reason we don't let people tell us who we can be." They judged her by her skin. They mocked her silence. They dismissed her strength. But Dana Marshall didn't shout. She didn't fight. She called the Pentagon. And when justice arrived, it wasn't in a protest sign or a courtroom. It came in silence. In protocol. In power. Racism met clearance. And lost.